Before death, Robert Redford revealed the Golden Age stars who were secretly evil. The lights of Hollywood's Golden Age shone so bright they blinded us to the darkness lurking just off camera. Robert Redford, the legendary actor and filmmaker whose career spanned over 60 years, held on to explosive secrets about his famous colleagues until his final days. What this trusted industry insider revealed paints a disturbing portrait of beloved icons, whose public personas mask something far more sinister. The shocking truths Redford exposed about Orson Welles, Charles Baer, and other revered figures completely upend everything we thought we knew about Hollywood's most celebrated era. But before we unveil these disturbing revelations, you need to understand something crucial about Redford himself. Unlike many of his peers, Redford maintained a reputation for integrity throughout his remarkable career. When someone with his credibility finally decides to speak the uncomfortable truth about the industry's darkest corners, we have no choice but to listen. And what he revealed about the true character of Hollywood's biggest names will forever change how you view your favorite classic films. The glittering facade of Hollywood's Golden Age concealed a machinery of manipulation that few outsiders truly understood. From the 1920s through the 1960s, the studio system created an illusion of glamour and nobility that audiences eagerly consumed. The stars who graced the silver screen became more than entertainers. They transformed into icons, ideals that represented everything America wanted to believe about itself. Robert Redford entered this world as it was beginning to fracture. Born in 1936, he rose to prominence in the 1960s, working alongside the last generation of studio-era stars while witnessing the system's collapse from within. His unique position, respected by the old guard, yet aligned with a new generation of filmmakers, gave him unprecedented insight into Hollywood's hidden history. "I came in during a transition," Redford reportedly told close associates in his later years. "I worked with people who had been shaped by the old system, and I saw what it had done to them. Some became legends, others became monsters. Sometimes they were both at once." Redford's journey through Hollywood was markedly different from many of his contemporaries. He established the Sundance Institute in 1981, creating a space for independent filmmaking outside the traditional studio structure. This commitment to artistic integrity made him something of an outsider, even as he achieved tremendous commercial success. Robert always maintained a certain distance. A longtime colleague reportedly shared, "He observed more than he participated in the machinery of Hollywood. That perspective allowed him to see things others couldn't or wouldn't." As Redford approached the end of his extraordinary life, he allegedly began to reflect on what he had witnessed throughout his career. The stories he shared with trusted confidants revealed a Hollywood far removed from the sanitized version presented to the public. These weren't just idle rumors or petty grievances. They were first-hand observations from someone who had navigated the industry with open eyes. "It's not about settling scores," Redford reportedly said. "It's about historical truth. These people have been mythologized to the point where we've lost sight of reality. That does a disservice not just to history, but to the genuine accomplishments of everyone who worked in that era." The revelations. Redford shared about 5 key figures from Hollywood's Golden Age, shed light on the industry's darkest corners while forcing us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about these legendary names. And the first of these controversial insights concerned one of cinema's most celebrated geniuses, Maurice Auer, and things like that. And we had a very dramatic director called Charles Martin, who used to give very dramatic cues, and he was the Toscanini of the radio. Orson Welles, the brilliant tyrant. Orson Welles revolutionized cinema with Citizen Kane and created some of the most innovative films of the 20th century. His towering talent and larger-than-life persona made him one of Hollywood's most enduring legends. But according to what Robert Redford allegedly revealed in private conversations, toward the end of his life, Welles's genius came with a devastating human cost. "Genius but cruel," Redford reportedly described Welles. "I studied acting in New York, while Welles was still active in the industry. The stories that circulated weren't just about his brilliance. They were about how he broke people." Redford, who trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in the late 1950s, absorbed first-hand accounts of Welles's directing methods from instructors and colleagues who had worked with the legendary filmmaker. What emerged was a portrait of a man whose treatment of collaborators revealed a disturbing pattern. Redford once said, "One's talent was bigger than any room, but so was his ego." He didn't work with you. He devoured you, a friend of the actor reportedly shared. Robert heard countless stories of Wells humiliating actors, technicians, writers, anyone he perceived as standing between his vision and its execution. Wells's behavior went beyond the typical demands of a perfectionist director. According to what Redford learned, Wells would deliberately isolate actors from each other, telling them conflicting information to create genuine confusion and vulnerability that he could capture on film. He would reportedly film extras without telling them the camera was rolling to capture authentic reactions to staged events, sometimes frightening ones. What troubled Robert wasn't just that Wells was difficult. His confidant allegedly explained. It was that Wells seemed to enjoy the power he wielded over others. He created an atmosphere of fear and insecurity because he believed it produced better art. The question Robert always asked was, does great art justify cruelty? His answer was no. Particularly disturbing were accounts of Wells's treatment of women on his sets. While presenting himself as a sophisticated intellectual, he reportedly used his position to manipulate and control female actors, sometimes rewriting scenes to include humiliating scenarios for women who had rejected his advances. Redford had a particular contempt for that kind of behavior. The source continued, he saw it as the worst kind of abuse, using art as a shield for what was essentially revenge. Despite these troubling aspects of his character, Wells continued to be celebrated primarily for his artistic achievements. Redford reportedly felt this incomplete portrayal did a disservice to both history and to the people who suffered under Wells's tyrannical approach. The tragedy of Orson Welles, according to Robert, wasn't just what happened to his career, the confidant shared. It was that his genuine brilliance became permission for behavior that wouldn't be tolerated from someone less talented. Genius became his shield against accountability. While Wells represented the archetype of the tyrannical genius, another Golden Age figure demonstrated that sometimes the most charming public personas concealed the coldest hearts. Look into my eyes. If I ever meant anything to you, and I believe I did, Charles Baer, cold calculation behind the charm. Charles Boyer captivated audiences with his sophisticated demeanor and romantic appeal. The French actor personified European charm in films like Gaslight and Love Affair, creating a screen persona of elegance and refinement. But according to what Robert Redford allegedly revealed, Baer's off-screen personality bore little resemblance to his carefully crafted image. Class act in public, cold behind the curtain. Redford reportedly characterized Baer. After working with him on The Loves of Isadora in 1968, this rare direct collaboration gave Redford unfiltered exposure to Baer's true nature. Redford recalled how Baer could turn on the charm, but off-camera, he barely spoke unless it benefited him. A close associate of Redford's reportedly shared Boyer approached every interaction like a transaction. If you couldn't advance his interests, you simply didn't exist to him. What made Baer's behavior particularly unsettling was the stark contrast between his public image and private demeanor. While fans adored him for his apparent warmth and sophistication, those who worked with him experienced something entirely different. According to what Redford observed, Boyer's romantic screen persona was perhaps his greatest acting achievement, because it bore no relationship to his actual personality. Robert was fascinated by the performance Baer gave when the cameras weren't rolling. The source continued, he would watch Boyer transform completely when journalists or important industry figures entered the room. The warmth would switch on like a light, then switch off the moment they left. It was mechanical, calculated. Particularly disturbing to Redford was Baer's treatment of crew members and support staff. While unfailingly courteous to directors, producers, and fellow stars, Baer reportedly showed contempt for those he considered beneath his station. This hierarchical approach to human interaction struck Redford as revealing Baer's true character. Robert believed how you treat people who can do nothing for you reveals who you really are, the confidant explained. And by that measure, Baer failed completely. He saved his humanity for those who could advance his interests. This calculated approach to relationships extended to Baer's interactions with other actors. He reportedly viewed fellow performers not as collaborators, but as competitors for audience attention. According to what Redford observed, Bear would subtly undermine scene partners through barely perceptible timing adjustments or positioning that drew focus away from